to the next point. We should ensure whatever we see is clear.
That means work is being done. We can see that it is in opposite direction.
My well-able students, welcome to another interesting segment of our lesson in mathematics. I am still Mr. Yakob Fidelix, your mathematics teacher. Today, by the grace of God, we are continuing with the subtopic, measuration of plane shapes. Further examples. I said today we are continuing with further example of our subtopic in measuration, that is, measuration of plane shapes. In our previous lesson, under the subtopic, we have worked two examples already. Today, we are starting with the example number 3. Example number 3. A rectangle 9 centimeters long is equal in area to a square which has perimeter of 24 centimeters. Find the width of the rectangle. I take the question again. A rectangle 9 centimeters long is equal in area to a square which has perimeter of 24 centimeters. Find the width of the rectangle. If you are asked to find the width of the rectangle, we simply means find the breadth of the rectangle. Take note of that. The width of the rectangle refers to the breadth of the rectangle. Now, from the question, they say, if the rectangle is equal in area to a square, the rectangle is equal in area to a square. We've already learned that the area of a rectangle is length times breadth. Area of rectangle is length times the breadth. Well, the area of a square is d times d. That is, if d is taken to be a side of the square, if d is taken to be the side of the square, so the area is d times d, and that will give you d square. So from the question, L times b, which is LB, is equals to d square. L times b, which is LB, equals to d square. It's very, very paramount. Because if you don't get that, then you find it difficult to arrive at the correct answer. So you must know, my students, that LB, which is the area of the rectangle, is equal to d square, which is the area of a square, based on the question. Then from the question, the perimeter of the square is given. From the question, the perimeter of the square is given as 24. You can recall that the formula for calculating the perimeter of the square is 4d. The formula for calculating the perimeter of the square is 4d. So by this, we now have our 4d is equals to 24. Our 4d is equals to 24. We want to know d stands for what number? We want to know d stands for what number? So to get our d, we have to divide both sides by its coefficient, which is 4. To get our d, we have to divide both sides by its coefficient, or you can otherwise call it its multiplier, which is 4. So that is 4d over 4 equals 24 also over 4. 4d over 4 equals 24 over 4. 4d divided by 4 You can see 4 in the numerator, divide by 4 in the numerator, you'll be left with 1. So the left-hand side becomes 1 times d, and you'll be left with d. Then the right-hand side now, which is 24 divided by 4. 24 divided by 4. And 24 divided by 4 equals 6. 24 divided by 4 equals 6. Therefore, our d equals to 6. This implies that the length of side of a square is 6 centimeters. The length of side of a square is 6 centimeters. But don't forget, my dear students, you are asked to calculate the width or the breadth of the rectangle. So now, 9 times b, because the length of the rectangle here is 9 centimeters as given in the question. The length of the rectangle is 9 centimeters, so the left-hand side becomes 9 times b equals to the right-hand side, which is the area of the square, which is the area of the square. And recall that the area of the square is d square, And the value of d as calculated is what? Is 6. So that gives us 9 times b equals to 6 times 6. 9 times b, the answer is 9b. And 6 times 6, the answer is 36. 6 times 6, the answer is 36. To find b, you have to divide both sides by its coefficient, otherwise known as its multiplier. Which is 9. So, I now have 9b over 9 equals to 36 also over 9. 9b over 9 equals 36 over 9. So, 9b divided by 9. You can see that the 9 in the numerator divided by the 9 in the denominator will give you 1. And 1 times b, you will have b. And of course, 36 divided by 9, the answer is 4. 36 divided by 9, the answer is 4. Our b now equals to 4. Don't forget, because you are examined, you could be asked to calculate either the width or the breadth of the rectangle. You should know that either of the words used, they are the same. So therefore, the width of the rectangle here is equal to 4 centimeters. Example number 4. Example number 4. Find the length of the side of a square that is equal in area to a rectangle measuring 45 centimeters by 5 centimeters. I repeat the question. Find the length of the side of a square that is equal in area to a rectangle measuring 45 centimeters by 5 centimeters. Solution. Let the length of the side of a square be d centimeters. I assume the length of the side of the square to be d cm. And from the data or from the question, the area of the square is equal to the area of the rectangle. The area of the square is equal to the area of the rectangle. If you don't get this point, then you will find it difficult to get the actual result. If you miss this point, then you will find it difficult to get the actual result. So, you must bear in mind that from the question, the area of the square is equal to the area of the rectangle. That is, d square is equal to L times b. D square equals to L times b. But from the data, because we were told that the rectangle is measured 45 centimeters by 5 centimeters. The rectangle is measured 45 centimeters by 5 centimeters. That shows our length equals to 45 centimeters. And our breadth is equals to 5 centimeters. Please, here is B, not D. Is B, which represents the breadth, not D. So our B equals to 5 centimeters. Now, area of the square, the left-hand side, which is D square, give us the area of the rectangle, which is measured 45 by 5. That is 45 times 5. And when you multiply 45 by 5, you will get 225. When you multiply 45 by 5, you will get 225. This implies our D square is equals to 225. Now, to find the value of D, we are to take the square root on both sides. To find the value of D, we are to take the square root on both sides. And when you do that, you will have on the left the square root of D square equals to the square root of 225. The square root of D square equals the square root of 225 by indices, which we have learned long ago by indices. You can now see that the square root of D square, you'll be left with D alone. You'll be left with D alone. You will be left with D alone. That is why the left-hand side there is written as D. Is by the what? Laws of indices that gives you that D. Equals to the right-hand side, the square root of 225. What do you understand, or what do we mean by the square root of 225? It simply means a number that can multiply itself to give you 225. It simply means a number that can multiply itself to give you 225. Then, that number is equals to 15. That number is equals to 15. Please, if you don't know that that number is 15, to get that answer, you can express 225 as a product of its prime factors. You can express 225 as a product of its prime factors. When you do that correctly, then you will still arrive at your 15. When you do that correctly, then you will still arrive at your 15. Therefore, the length of the side of a square is equals to 15 centimeters. Therefore, the length of the side of a square is equals to 15 centimeters. By way of checking, my dear student, if you multiply 15 by 15, it will give you 225. If you multiply 15 by 15, it will give you 225. So therefore, the length of a side of a square is equals to 15 centimeters. Equals to 15 centimeters. Example number 5. Example number 5. The parallel sides of a trapezium are 11 centimeters and 13 centimeters. If the area of the trapezium is 84 centimeters square, calculate the distance between the parallel sides. This is SS1 question, but you can see it is WAEC. It's a WAEC question. It's SS1 question, but it's a WAEC question. Meaning that sometime it has appeared in WAEC. I repeat the question again so that you get it accordingly. The parallel sides of a trapezium are 11 centimeters and 13 centimeters. If the area of the trapezium is 84 centimeters square, calculate the distance between the parallel sides. Take note, calculate the distance between the parallel sides. For you to work this question correctly, you must understand the question. You must understand the question. From the question, you are asked to find the distance between the two sides. The distance between the two sides simply means to calculate the perpendicular height of the trapezium. Simply means to calculate the perpendicular height of the trapezium. Look at the area of the trapezium. Area of the trapezium is given as 1/2 into the sum of the parallel sides, which are A and B, times the perpendicular height, which is H, times the perpendicular height, which is what? H. I repeat the area. Area equals to 1/2 into A plus B times H. But from the question, we know our A. We also know our B, but we don't know the perpendicular height. That is why you are asked to calculate that. That is why you are asked to calculate the perpendicular height, because you don't know it. Now, the area is given as 84. So, in place of the area, you write 84 equals to 1/2 into. Our A is taken to be 11. Our A is taken to be 11. And our B is taken to be 13. So that is why you can see 84 equals 1/2 into 11 plus 13 times H. Your H is unknown. Don't forget that. Your H is unknown. Now, I now have 84 equals to the sum of 11 and 13. That is, 11 plus 13 will give you 24. 11 plus 13 will give you 24. So I have 84 equals 1/2 times 24 times H. 84 equals 1/2 times 24 times H. What is 2 into 24? What is 2 into 24? 2 into 24 equals 12. 2 into 24 equals 12. So the left-hand side is 84. And your right gives you 12 times H, which is equals to 12H. Your right-hand side gives you 12 times H, which is equals to 12H. We are looking for H. How do we get our H? We can get our H by dividing both sides by its coefficient. We can get our H by dividing both sides by its coefficient, which is 12. So, I now have 84/12 equals 12H/12. H is missing there. 84/12 equals 12H/12. H is missing there. Now, what is 12 divided by 12? 12 divided by 12, the answer is 1. 12 divided by 12, the answer is 1. And 1 times H that is missing. And 1 times H that is missing will give you 1H, which is equals to H. Will give you 1H, which is equals to H. Then, 84 divided by 12, the answer is 7. 84 divided by 12, the answer is 7. So therefore, our H becomes 7 centimeters. Therefore, the distance between the parallel side is what? Is 7 centimeters as our final answer. My dear students, let me quickly summarize what we have learned before the assignment. I want you to recall, don't forget, the backbone of these topics are the what? Are the respective formulae in which I have given you. The backbone or the key of understanding mesuration under the pressure that I've taught you is to what? To take note of the respective formulae that I have given you. Take note. The formula for calculating the area of the rectangle is length times the breadth. And that of the square is d times d. That is, if you assume a side of the square to be d, if you assume the side of the square to be d. Now, like in this question 3, we were told, or you were instructed, that the area of the rectangle is equal to that of the square. Take note of that. That is where you need to know. Because if you miss this point, then certainly you can't arrive at the accurate result. So you must bear in mind that the area of the rectangle here, which is length times breadth, is equal to the area of the square, which is d square. Now, LB equals to d square. But again, it is also written in the question that the perimeter of the square is 24 centimeters. The perimeter of the square is 24 centimeters. And the formula for calculating the perimeter of the square is given as 4d. Is given as 4d. So we now have our 4d is equal to 24. Then by way of calculation, our d becomes 6. Our d becomes 6. But you were asked to calculate the width of the rectangle. You were asked to calculate the width of the rectangle, which can also be known as the breadth of the rectangle. As the breadth of the rectangle. So we now have our length is 9. So that gives us 9 times b equals 6 times 6. And 9 times b is 9b. 6 times 6 is 36. To get the value of your b, you divide both sides by the coefficient of b, which is 9. So 9b divided by 9, the left, equals to 36 divided by 9. And 9b divided by 9, you'll be left with 1b, which is equals to b. And 36 divided by 9, the answer is 4. So therefore, the width of the rectangle is equal to 4 centimeters. Then, look at the question number 5. You were asked to calculate the distance between the parallel sides of the trapezium. You were asked to calculate the distance between the parallel sides of the trapezium. Don't forget, the distance between the parallel side of the trapezium refers to the perpendicular height of the trapezium, which is h. The distance between the parallel sides of the trapezium refers to the perpendicular height of the trapezium, which is h. Which is h. So now, by applying the formula, you are to calculate the value of h. Do your substitution here. You can discover that at the end of it all, the value of h is equals to 7 centimeters. The value of h is equals to 7 centimeters. My dear students, before we close for the day, I have an assignment for you. Please, whenever you are given an assignment, don't forget, practice makes perfect. Mathematics deal with figures. If you don't practice, then certainly there is no how you can comprehend mathematics. In fact, you cannot appreciate the beauty of the subject. But you only appreciate the beauty of the subject when you practice very well. In fact, you will love it and love it more and more. Here is the assignment. 1. The area of a square is RCM square. The area of a square is RCM square. Write down an expression for half its perimeter. It's a YA question. Even though it's an SS1 topic. It's an SS1 topic. You see now, it's from SS1, but it's a YA topic. Meaning that these questions had one time appeared in YA. So, let me take that question for better assimilation. The area of a square is RCM square. Write down an expression for half its perimeter. Write down an expression for half its perimeter. YA. Number 2, the area of a trapezium is 14.7 cm square. If the parallel sides are 5.3 cm and 3.1 cm long, find the perpendicular distance between them. Let me take that question again. The area of a trapezium is 14.7 cm square. If the parallel sides are 5.3 cm and 3.1 cm long, find the perpendicular distance between them. The reference of my research is from New Journal Mathematics for senior secondary school. New Journal Mathematics for senior secondary school by J.B. Channon, H.C. Head, and et al. New Journal Mathematics for senior secondary schools by J.B. Channon, H.C. Head, and et al. I'm still your mathematics teacher, Mr. Yakubu Fidelix. You can always get me through this contact, 080-2525-5287. Mr. Yakubu Fidelix, 080-2525-5287. And my able colleague, the interpreter, Mr. Patrick. And my able colleague, the interpreter, Mr. Patrick. Well done, sir. Stay safe and keep learning well. Thank you.